Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The Sharks come home and defeat the Devils in overtime. Logan Couture with the overtime winner. Of course, this is his second game back, so it is good to see the captain on the board. I am joined by Eric Cura. Eric, how are you doing this evening?
Well, the allergies suck, but hey, the Sharks get off the schneid. They've ended their 5-game losing streak. You know, a lot to be talk about for sure. But man, that first period was ugly. It was uglier than me after getting hit by a pool filter. Let's be honest.
Yeah, that was not great hockey to start it off. And if you want to be a part of the show, please go ahead and hit us up on the social media. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter using Teal USA, Instagram, the YouTube chat, which we do monitor from time to time. And so if you want to get your 2 cents in, go ahead and hit us up on the chat. Facebook, SoundCloud, and Reddit are all places that you can find us. And of course, the content keeps on rolling at tealtownusa.com. So, tonight's game. So we did have quite a few talking points, especially from the Sharks returning on their, little trek out east. And so let's start off with that first period. Travis Zajac would score his 7th on the season. Wood and Anderson with the assists. That came at 11:09 in the first period. I mean, Eric, they just flat out looked sloppy, and I had pretty much a rant ready to go on the give a shit meter because, boy, howdy, that was some sloppy hockey.
Yes, it was really bad, and just Vlasic trying to dig the puck out, he puts it in the net for Zajac on that goal. Not the prettiest in the world, and definitely the give a damn meter was not on high mode. I mean, I don't know how the heck they got 6 shots on goal in the first period. I mean, I don't know how they got that, considering I thought how New Jersey was dominating.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it was a combination of not having their feet in that first period or if it was just the sloppy play by the Sharks. But boy, howdy, I mean, the turnovers were just, they were inexcusable. They had, turnover after turnover on the blue line, on the red line, in the neutral zone. I mean, everywhere you could commit a no turnover, they committed it. And
yeah.
I mean, number one on that was got to be Evander Kane, who did not look good in that first period. And Brent Burns is number 2, in my opinion, on the giveaway meter there in that first period.
Yeah, and you can also probably go number 3 with Jake Middleton, when Gusev just takes the puck right off of his stick, and then he goes 5-hole to make it 2-0 New Jersey. You see just how the boys weren't handling the puck and not trying to possess it and keep it to themselves, and bad things happen. And sure thing, Gusev literally steals it and goes 5-hole just as Jones is opening up, just to try to get over to the other side. So it was bad, but there was still 40 minutes to go in the game.
Yeah, for sure. Coming out in that second period, they looked a lot crisper. They still were guilty of some giveaways, but again, I think it was a lot more crisper, and were able to move the puck through the neutral zone with a little bit more pace. Their passes were a little bit more tape to tape, so it wasn't as egregious. I still thought that they were a little suspect in their own defensive zone in that second period, and I thought that Jones bailed them out a couple of different times in the second period. But Mario Ferraro, with his second goal, just lets in a little wrister from the blue line. Kane and Gregor getting the assists there. And, Kane and Gregor did a really good job. Yeoman's work down low and really kicked that puck up high and, a soft little floater. And you're gonna get those from time to time, but it's good to see Marleau put it on net. What did you see out of that goal that you really liked?
Well, you see the speediness and the shiftiness of Gregor in tight spots, which is something I like. I really like down the road. If he can work on his finish a little bit more, he is going to be, uh, you know, he's going to be something special. Kane slowly but surely getting there. He's not getting um, he's not getting the slam dunk shots in the net, and of course, Zach, infamous Zach, has said it a billion zillion times: stay out of the penalty box. That being said, nice setup there. Get to Marleau, gets it into the net. What I really liked is how he was super pumped for it. And it just seemed like, yeah, he's super pumped that he got his second goal this season. But I also think, come on, boys, we still got a lot of hockey left. Let's go. We can get this back into it. No problem. Plenty of time.
And I think the one word that we can use to describe Mario Ferraro's game is consistency. This is a kid that has brought 100% effort, consistent all throughout the season. Really, probably along with Barclay Goodrow, were the most consistent players on this team. And it's definitely a bright spot in a very bleak season. So I continue to see and like what I'm seeing out of Mario's game. It's similar to when Braun came up, and Braun had that two-way game, especially when he first came up, where he did chip in a little bit offensively, but he was also pretty rugged on the back end and was able to really move the puck quite well. So, again, Marleau doing some yeoman's work there. And Gregor, we would be remiss if we didn't say Gregor with his first NHL assist on that goal.
Yeah, and Noah Gregor, again, like I said, he's starting to show his signs. The same thing with Alex True. Little by little, the kids are starting to show their work in the NHL. Yeah, it's not like guns a-blazing Joe Thornton or Brent Burns or Eric Carlson when they're on their game, but you take what you got, and they look like something that'll be a promising future for these guys down the road.
Yeah, Rob Iman chiming in with a quick fact or fiction on Ferraro being a top four. I think he's already cemented himself in the top four. Really, I'd like to see him and Carlson paired together, and maybe move Vlasic to a different pair and see what Ferraro can do with either one of the two big righties, either Brent or Eric. I'd like to see Ferraro paired with, because he does have good wheels and he can put himself into good defensive positioning, which is, I think, paramount when you're playing with two riverboat gamblers, as I like to say.
Yes.
But speaking about riverboat gamblers, the New Jersey Devils gambling a little bit on their power play and leads to a turnover. And Marcus Sorenson and Joe Shellman come in on a shorthanded attempt 2-on-1, and Shellman would just the saucy pass all over to Marcus Sorenson. I mean, that is some serious sauce. It was sweet with just a hint of zip. And Shellman.
Are you hungry, Landy? Did you eat dinner before you came on? I mean, you're talking about this sauce here. Are you wanting Chinese food? Were you looking for
I was thinking
a spicy
barbecue,
meatball?
more like a barbecue kind of sauce.
Okay, but it was Shellman with the sweet pass. I mean, it was a nice pass, and Sorensen just buried it. I mean, that was huge for Sorensen, who's obviously had a rough year. Something I put up on the Teal Town Twitter tonight. Sorensen. 20 of Sorensen's 30 career NHL goals have either been game-tying or giving the Sharks the lead. It's a crazy stat, but hey, the Sharks' seventh shorthanded goal. They look pretty good out there tonight. So we'll take it.
Yeah, for
Back to you,
sure.
Landy.
and I think we see the maturity of Joel Shellman's game. I think little by little he is starting to get form, and I like what I'm seeing out of Joel Shellman. I think, to me, he's definitely proved enough to where I want to see him some more. Tonight he did end up with 1647 of ice time. He had an assist, and he had one shot on goal and 42% in the face-off dot. But, I think that he's got a little bit of a scoring touch, and maybe not necessarily from a finishing perspective, but from an assist point of view, I think that he could be very, very intriguing on that third line. So it's good to see the maturation of this player, because the Sharks' depth right now is very depleted, especially with the trade that happened on Monday. And for me, he's going to be very interesting going into the off season to kind of see what he gets insofar as a deal going forward. That
I'm looking at some of the comments in the chat, if we don't mind, really quick. Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce is good too. I recommend Kinder's if you aren't. The Proud Hederick refers it with chicken tenders. OK says Stefan Nason is the new goodie. Am I wrong? LOL. I think he looks pretty sharp in the lineup, don't you think?
Yeah, I think definitely Stefan Nason has shown me that he is a gritty type forward. I think he's got a little bit of scoring touch, and he's just got a little bit of a nastiness that he brings to his game. He's not afraid to really mix it up, and I like that. And I think the Sharks could definitely use some more of that. Oh, thank you, John. We appreciate it.
John, yes. Thank you for your super chat donation. Eric and Eric show, yes. Appreciate it.
So, I think Stefan Nason has definitely played himself into a new contract with the Sharks. I'd like to see that happen. And I think he could be a very important piece moving forward in the bottom six.
Absolutely. And solidified the bottom six and has all those characteristics you need from a second six, because you definitely need to have some of those thumpers, but also have a good scoring touch too. And I think we remember that. I think it was like one of his first goals, just that pass he received from Brendan Dillon, and then he just buries it. Wearing number 11 proudly with an N at the beginning of his name and the N of the beginning of his at the end of his name. Just put it out there, looking a little Nolan-esque. Let's not get crazy though.
That's definitely for sure. I think Rob Iman also brings up a good point. Gregor is a keeper for next season. I think that he has definitely shown that he can stay and stick up here. I think at the beginning of the season it was a little touch and go, but I think I've seen his game definitely develop. And, it's going to be up to him whether or not he's going to stick. And these next 19 games are going to be really important to see where he ends up. He's definitely got the scorer's touch, if going back to his days in Prince Albert. He's a player that is going to be relied upon for some secondary scoring. That is for sure. In that third period, though, Eric, I think we need to really talk about the power play and just the ineptitude on that power play. It is looking really, really disastrous right now.
Yeah, it's gotten down to 27th, in there. So that's a tough one to take, and just with all the moves that have taken place and the limited practice time. I mean, let's be real here, guys. They played on Tuesday, was it Tuesday played in Philly? Yeah. Tuesday, come home, still adjusting to, getting back to Pacific time zone. And granted, they have a 6-game homestand, but, they're going to really change everything up on the power play and get some work together and get some chemistry going on it big time because, yeah, it looks out of whack, especially when you have an icing on the power play, which of
is
course we
never
all
a
know.
good thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, the wise Drew Romenda always shouting that out on the broadcast, and it's nice to see Randy continue that. But no, I think so. I think also too the power play needs to have a little more bit more pride. I say that because of just how sloppy the passing was on the power play, and not only
Right.
that, but it's selfish plays where they're holding on to the puck far too long at the blue line, looking for that perfect shot, and it's just seems like a bunch of individuals out there. It does not seem like a cohesive 5-man unit. Um, and I don't know what gives, man. With the amount of talent that this team has, I mean, even just without having Hurdle out on that power play, I mean, Jumbo and Bernsey and LeBanc and Kane and Timo. I mean, they just
Right.
it's far too timid, and I don't understand that, and I have had that opinion of Burns' game throughout the season, just a very timid game, and don't I don't get it, and I don't know where the lack of jam is coming from or why it is the way that it is. I mean, do you have any ideas on just the sloppiness and predictiveness and just almost general disinterest on the power play?
Again, I think it comes from practices and so much roster movement. I mean, Patty was on the power play. Goodrow was on the power play as well. I think you look at it and it's like, okay, um, so we lost those guys. And of course, Jumbo knows how Patty works, and so does Bernsey. So you see some of those guys already have that communication with them, and they kind of know what to go with Goody and such. So when you change that up, and when you change power play setups and everything, it's tough. It's tough. And knowing how hot Evander Kane got off to a crazy power play start this year, the the teams are focusing on him, and I like what they're trying to set up, and they're setting up the one timer in the slot for Evander Kane, but you can't always go to the same thing. We had this for years. We talked about how they were ribbing it around to Jumbo on the half boards, how everybody caught up onto that. Then they switched it to Burns throwing the shot, net at the point, and Pavs would tip it in. People caught on to that. So they need to find their next, I don't want to say gimmick because that's not fair to them, but find their next play that will work for them.
Yeah, they definitely need to set up a new playbook, that's for sure, because it just
Sure.
still seems like it has not been adapted. There's a Joe Pavelski sized hole in that power play still. And so this team is going to have to figure out a way how to adapt. And so, they go 0 for, let's see, I think it's 0 for 3 tonight on the power play, although one of the power plays was quite abbreviated.
It was 7 seconds before Kane took a tripping, or what was it? It was either holding or tripping
No,
call.
it was a hooking.
Hooking, yeah, whatever it was. I mean, he wasn't there for that long.
and so I mean, the only way that the Sharks really are on the net positive in the special teams department is that shorthanded goal, which is good, but still,
That's great.
The power play is just. I mean, it's been the Achilles heel. It's arguably one of the biggest reasons why the Sharks are where they're at this season.
Right.
So it's got to be addressed. So going into that third period, because each of the teams kind of played it out to a draw. We conclude the third period all knotted up 2-2 going into the overtime. And Logan Couture with the overtime winner. Good to see the captain on the board. It's good to see him get some confidence. And Kane and Burns with the assist comes in at 38 seconds in the overtime. But we get to hear Logan's goal song. Girls Just Want to Have Fun by Cyndi Lauper. And interesting.
You have to think that his girlfriend picked that out for him. And I think Shane put that out on Twitter. My question is this, Landy. And you were there the day that we presented the idea of get ready for this over to Doug Bentz in the Sharks front office that day that we did the tour and the tweet up. I don't think they're taking this too seriously.
No,
because what was Sorenson's was Mamma Mia?
Yeah, it was Mamma Mia.
They're having fun with it, which is great. But if you were hoping for serious, I don't want to say serious, but I guess more traditional goal songs, don't come to the San Jose Sharks.
I honestly think that they're going to go back to 2 Unlimited. I think that this is just a gimmick, kind of spice things up for the rest of the season. But with the history of the song, in San Jose being the warm-up song, I think it'll come back.
Yeah. John did another super chat, by the way. Sorry about that, and thank you to the group that was saying he missed one. What did you think of Timo's game tonight, Landy?
Timo still looks like a player struggling to find his game, and he looks like a player that is overthinking the game to a certain extent. I feel like he's got a lot of pressure on himself because of the injuries and because of the depletion of talent that the team had in the offseason. He just looks like a player that is putting way too much pressure on himself. And when the kid plays free, when he is that bull in a china shop, and when he is kind of got that play with reckless abandon, that's when he's at his best. But I see him trying to pass the puck. I see him, passing up opportunities to shoot the puck on net. To me, there's just something off with him, and I hate to boil it down to a mental side of the game, but I think that's what it is. And so it'll be interesting to see how going forward he will re-examine his game and see if he can't get back to the meat and potatoes style that was really the hallmark of his game that made him really, really good.
Yeah. John with another super chat. Thank you so much. By the way, for super chat donations, they do go back to help support the show and the website. It covers costs and everything as well.
So you can hear both of us sickies in like full quality.
That's right. Hey, at least I have my voice tonight as opposed to the soundbite AJ has from like 5 years ago.
Oh yes, if you're a long time listener, you'll know that soundbite. Yeah, and so I kind of wanted to also go through a little bit more in the chat. There was a big kind of dust up about Marcus Sorenson versus Patrick Marleau, where Patrick Marleau kind of fits into the equation going forward. Do we see him back in Teal? That's going to all depend upon what Doug Wilson does come free agency. I think for me, the number one item on the shopping list, so to speak, is a goaltender, a starting goaltender. You look at Robin Lehner and you look at Markstrom, Jakob Markstrom up in Vancouver. And yes, I said it. And
did somebody say Vancouver? I can't do it with this tonight. Okay.
So I think that Doug Wilson is going to go big game hunting out in free agency for a goaltender who is going to either be a number one or somebody who could push Jones.
Hmm.
And I see that kind of being the first item on the list. And I think on the second item on the list, Eric, I think they need to go out and find an impact forward. I mean, this
Yep.
team it did not work out the way that they were expecting with the young kids. And I think it's an indictment upon the depth of the organization. And I think that it goes to show you that that this team needs to take a hard look at itself in drafting and developing its forwards, because right now the cupboard is bare and there's no cavalry on the horizon coming in to save the day.
You have some kids that are in juniors and in college. I think the one from UMass, Leonard from UMass, where Mario Ferraro was, looks like he could be potential, but you can't hang on to that. Honestly, the Sharks, and this is one of the things of why I've been so critical about the minor league system, is because they aren't ones to develop major all stars. And when they do, they're quickly brought up, i.e., Pavelski and Couture. So it's not exactly developing into homegrown all star talent. That being said, you have 8 unrestricted free agents at the end of the season. You have 4 restricted free agents, and you have at the moment with what you have 17 million, um, roughly a little over 17 million in the cap, depending on how much it goes up next season. You're going to have to make some changes. Good news is that the Paul Martin buyout's gone. The Brendan Dillon salary retained will be gone. There will be things that you have to do, and there might be some painful ones. Also, at the same time, if Jumbo and Patty do want to come back, I think they'll be welcome back with open arms, because you do need to put butts in the seats in this case. But let's hope that they're doing it on minimal salary.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of are going through it right now, but $1.9 million comes off from Aaron Dell's contract. Um, I think that Tim Heed will probably be re-signed because he's going to be on the cheap. I think he's definitely coming back, but
Right.
the
If he
three-headed
wants to.
monster of Burns, Vlasic, and Carlson is just a luxury that this team can't afford anymore. And so I wouldn't be surprised if one of them is moved out in the off season and maybe around draft time, because this team needs to get out from under one of those contracts,
Yeah.
and really needs to reinvest that money back into the forward core. Um, so I think that there's a variety of ways to get the money, so to speak. I think that again we're going to have a cap inflation. I think it'll probably go up maybe conservatively $2 million. I think you'll get on the cap. I think on the high end maybe 4 to 5 million extra space in the cap. But I think a safe bet's probably a couple million. Um,
In that gets you to 20 million. That gives you some leeway. And AJ, yeah, you're right. Winning puts butts in the seats, but you don't need two 41-year-olds for attendance. Well, if with what the Sharks have right now,
but is it even an attendance thing at this point? I think it's a depth thing, right? I
yeah,
mean,
no,
I don't
it's definitely a depth thing, and
I
trying
don't
to find
think
the
that there's
right
anybody in the
spots.
yeah, there's nobody in the system that's able to do what those two do at 40,
Yeah.
even at 41 years old. And again, serious indictment on the farm team. Um, uh, I just it's been mismanaged in a lot of different respects, and the Roosters are coming home to crow, so to speak, because this had been an area of neglect for a long time. And you can just go through the list of drafts. We've done it. We've talked about it, and just look at the graveyard that is the second and third rounds for this team.
Mm-hmm. AJ and I talked about it at the trade deadline show earlier in the week. It's one of the, and in Ian, saying that it's rough. Yeah, and AJ saying it, 13, 14, 15 drafts. The Sharks took two players, if I recall correctly, that are playing the NHL.
Yeah.
And that's why you perhaps see the reason why DW Jr. is running the scouting area, because you need to see a change, and it was long overdue because you weren't hitting anything. Yeah, you're getting your rare late round pickups, but you can't be banking on late round pickups all the time, and you can't be banking on them having an off season. Just try to you gotta be consistent. 30 goal season, yeah, you're wanting to get 35. You don't go back down to 20. You need to do it. So just another Randy G with a $5 super chat. Thank you very much. It is so bad to take 1 year to rebuild and retool. I'm sorry, I don't see the Sharks being contenders next year unless they get rid of 4488 in the summer.
I mean, you've got a point. I could see that happening. I could see the Sharks still languishing next season. But I could also see Doug Wilson being able to pull the rabbit out of his hat because he's been able to do it before. I mean, you are talking about the guy that extracted a first-round pick for Barclay Goodrow. So, and as much as we all love Goody, and I can definitely be, number one on that list. I tracked him since he was in North Bay, Brampton Battalion, in junior. But to get that kind of a payoff for that player was it showed that DW still got some magic in the hat, so to speak. So, I think that free agency is going to be interesting for this team. I seriously think, though, that goaltending is going to have to be addressed.
You can't come back with Jones and Dell.
No, and I think if Jones didn't have the contract that he has now, I honestly think that he probably wouldn't be back at all. That contract's a little unwieldy, and so you got to figure. I don't know who's going to bite on that contract if you're trying to get rid of it. I was going to say maybe Ottawa because, Craig Anderson's coming off the books and they're going to need some stability long term, but I don't know that they want Jones after seeing what they've got. I mean, maybe they've got some cost certainty there, but, it's going to be difficult to shed that contract. So
yeah,
now we're talking buyout land,
but you can have him on contract on your cap for 8 years if you do that. Do you really want to put through that when you're going to be up to tight with the cap for as many years? I mean, we're just getting out of the Paul Martin, buyout.
Yeah, I mean, so we kind of going through it. Just looking at the players that are available, I mean, I think the Sharks will probably take a long look at Taylor Hall, and see if there's a way to fit that into the mold. I could see DW trying to do that. I'm just kind of going through this. Is there anybody else that I would really break the bank for? I'm just looking through. I mean,
it's tough.
Tyler Toffoli is kind of somebody that's interesting. Although he is 28, I didn't realize he was that old.
And AJ mentioning give Jones one more season after a summer with working to be Nabby. To be fair, Jones has looked better in the last 4 games, and he has, including that shutout against Minnesota. You wonder what a whole offseason will do. And for that matter, is Nabby going to be the goalie coach for the main club? Will he just want to go back to being the developmental coach in that one? That's the other one. Otherwise, yeah, some people are saying David Ayers.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't understand why the franchise didn't look into bringing somebody else from a goaltending perspective last season. Um, then of course there's also going to be the whole coaching decision and where they go
Right.
with coaching, because that's going to be another, uh, another discussion within itself and another set of interesting variables with who's on the market. Uh, you know, I think there's a lot of different ways that this could shake out, but you've got to figure that there's got to be some semblance of a plan of what they're going to try and do. At least somewhere there's got to be an idea of, okay, going into the off season, we need to prioritize X, Y, and Z. We need to try and extract some value from this roster, whether it be from a cap perspective or whether it be from a treasure trove of draft picks and things like of that sort. But there's definitely got to be change. There's definitely got to be a lot of change. That is for sure, and in my opinion.
No, I completely concur. Like I said, you can't go back with what you have right now. It's not. It's obviously not working. Yes, the Sharks got a victory tonight, and we should be celebrating it and everything, coming back from a 2-0 deficit. But at the same time, you do need some better depth. You do need some, some veteran presence, as long as it's affordable. But that's a fine line, and especially with 17 million and a bunch of unrestricted free agents and restricted free agents who have arbitration rights on the docket next season. It's something that's not impossible, folks. And DW has worked his magic where everybody can fit in, but it's a matter of finding the right people that'll fit in.
Well, I mean, there'll definitely be some interesting names out there in the RFA market. You wonder if maybe uh, the Sharks will look into doing offer sheet land again. You know what I mean? Because there are quite a few RFAs that are very interesting, and you could put some of your rivals in tough predicaments.
Yeah, but you just don't want to go over too much and give up a boatload of picks
Right.
to another team again. It just almost be like another Erik Karlsson trade, and that's the last thing I think anybody wants to do right now in San Jose.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Eric, what do you see as the most pressing issue going into next season? I know that we talked about goaltending and stuff, but is there a particular player on this roster that you're like, okay, enough is enough. There's got to be a way to get out of this contract situation. I mean, is there anybody that screams out to you on the roster right now?
That you can get rid of? No, I don't think so, because the players hold the cards. Vlasic's got a no move. Karlsson has a no move. As much as everybody wants to poop on Karlsson, he's not going anywhere unless he wants to, and most likely that's only back to Ottawa. There's guys that have no move or limited no trade clauses, and they're probably going to say, here, L.A., Anaheim, Vegas, yeah, have fun trading me to a rivalry. It's having one of the most expensive blue lines, and it's not doing its thing. We call it out all the time. But what you need is the goal scoring. You need the goal scoring to make up for what you don't have now in in the forwards. I mean, yeah, you lost the big three that we keep talking about over and over and over again. And why do we keep talking about it? Because they're not putting up the offense. The Sharks won 3-2 tonight. They lost to Philly with just 2 goals. We can go over this over and over and over again, and I think they only went over 4 goals like maybe once, and that's off the top of my head this month.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, they trend really low in the goals for department. Um, it's definitely a scoring starved team. And you thought you would make up the balance with adding the second the second wild horse or wild stallion on the back end, but it's just that experiment is just not working. It's not working. It hasn't worked insofar as integrating on power plays. It hasn't. I dare to say hasn't worked in the locker room. I feel
yeah.
like there's definitely a divide kind of in the locker room. Like the deal between Evander Kane getting his deal and Erik Karlsson getting his deal. I mean that it can't be said for how much pride that these players have, and to see that these two relative outsiders getting these large paydays at the cost of Joe Pavelski. And we can have the semantics argument about the 35-year-old with his contract,
Yeah.
but basically it's he passed over, and a homegrown guy not getting a deal. And I think the Timo Meyer deal, I think, is a little bit of a misstep, a miscalculation on how much he deserved.
Well, here's the thing, and I know there's been talk about that. Carlson and Kane are outsiders and may have affected the team chemistry, as AG just put in there. But at the same time, though, when nothing's getting done, when you're not holding the big shiny silver thing come June, and nothing's getting done, you're going to want to make a change. Could Hasso put some pressure on Doug Wilson to make some of these changes? I mean, it's quite possible that Doug's getting antsy. He wants to get a cup, so he's just going to throw whatever out at it to do whatever it takes to get the title. Yeah, you came 6 wins short of it last year. Now, you talk about the Timo deal. Yeah, that's going to happen down the road. That he's got to show up, and as the contract gets bigger and bigger, the expectations are going to get bigger and bigger. So he needs to show up. Guys like Kevin LeBanc, Marcus Sorenson, and even the youngsters, Noah Gregor, Alex True, there's an expectancy for you to rise up to get the job done and to play at your full level, and even try to find a spot to get even higher than that. So you go six wins. You're 6 wins short, or you were 10 minutes short of leaving in round one. This team needs to be better. What you have here may not be going anywhere. People can saying about how rough Erik Karlsson is. He's not going better. He has to get better. Jones has to get better. Evander Kane has to get better and stay out of the penalty box.
So I mean, what you're saying then is a whole system wide. The whole system just needs to get better. And I don't know about you, but there is one coach that consistently squeezes the most offensive juice out of his players, and I think you know who I'm talking about. But do the Sharks go out and hire Gabby? Because he consistently gets players playing offensive hockey. Sure, he doesn't have a great playoff record, but the team right now, I think, will take more offensive consistency than maybe a proven track record in the playoffs. I don't know, but you need to find a way to extract the most out of this team. And to me, I don't see any other idea than bringing in a radically different coach.
That's the thing. Is that DW is going to give Bob Bugner as much of a shot as possible. Now, the only other times that this occurred, they weren't under DW's watch. They hired Ron Wilson and kept him going for a bit. The other time, Kevin Constantine, had his assistant take over, but his assistant quickly went back down to coach the farm team. Could he let Bugner go back as an assistant? I don't know. Who knows what they would do, and that's the tough part is where do you go? And this is what they have to deal with, and they have to figure out, because let's be honest here, folks, while they are retreads, there's plenty of coaches out on the market right now.
I mean, AJ bringing it up, he wants Sturm, but I don't think they're going to be able to pry him out of LA. But he'll settle for Boudreau. Boudreau is a teacher, and that's the thing. Bruce Boudreau has what's Al Sims up to? Oh God,
no, not Al Sims.
But we talk about a team that is trying to get younger. Maybe he's a guy that could, get Noah Gregor becoming a 20 to 25 goal scorer, or unlock a Marcus Sorenson to the guy that we saw previous. And I don't know. There doesn't seem to be a clear roadmap solution to get this team back on track from a roster perspective. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have to engineer it in a way that comes outside of the roster. And to me, coaching staff, a new goaltending coach hire, are things where I kind of circle around,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a very, very interesting problem, and it doesn't have an immediate solution in my eyes.
Yeah. And Justin Denny bringing up a good point. The guys with the big contracts are on cruise control. They know they are not getting traded away, and they know that there's nobody that can on the CUDA can take their spot. That's an absolute great point, Justin. Maybe they are sitting idle because they know that they can have it in there. Going back up earlier, John, is this the worst place we will finish Pacific since '97? It's the worst that will be in 5 years when the Sharks didn't make the playoffs. They are, that team in 2015 finished 40, 33, and 9 with 89 points and finished fifth. You'd have to go back to the 02-03 season where the team, finished 28, 37, and 9 for their last place finish spot. They had 28 wins on that campaign. The Sharks picked up the victory tonight. That's at win number 27. So not as bad, but I'm sorry, 28, 37, 9, and 8 because they put the overtime losses in a separate spot.
Yeah, I mean, God CF asking, what happened to our prospects? I think
they were all traded away.
Well, not only that, but I think everybody needs to really, take it upon themselves to go read Shang Peng's article on Fear the Fin about the prospect pool. He gets some really interesting sound bites, tidbits, whatever you want to call it, from some rival executives and rival scouting departments. And the Sharks are completely off the mark on some of their prospects. And you go through and they kind of categorize each prospect, and guys that we thought we were really high on, Chekovich and Chemilevsky, or Chemlevsky, however he wants to say it, were clearly overrated and overhyped in the system. It's I think I don't know if it was wishful thinking on the part of the Sharks staff, or if it was they saw more than that was there. Maybe falling in love too much with your own prospects, maybe a
Hmm.
little bit of everything.
Oh
But
yeah, for sure.
clearly, I mean, we've seen the talent that has been cycled through. Clearly not ready. Clearly not ready.
Yeah. I think that just sums it all up for sure there. Yeah. So
Um, so kind of going through Cheryl saying DW traded the good ones away. Uh,
I mean
Justin,
those were pieces that you got Kane and Carlson for.
yeah, but I
So
mean, but that even having said that, look at Marco Mueller and look at how he's developed. And he's supposed to be an impact, player that the team was betting a lot on. I mean, he does turn into Mario Ferraro, which is good because Mario Ferraro is going to be a top 4 defenseman, that's for sure. But we also got to look at who is the kid into his own looks, Nikolai Goldobin, right?
yeah.
You look at Nikolai Goldobin, and he doesn't pan out. I mean,
Well, we won't. Well, let's not retread about how wonderful the Sharks do when they keep their first round pick.
yeah, but that just goes to show you, even if they had kept the prospects, the high end prospects that they picked, how well it would have turned out,
Yeah.
right? And so again, indictment upon the scouting staff, and I'm on record as saying the nepotism hire wasn't a good thing. I think that the team needed an injection of new ideas and fresh perspectives, not being, Ned Coletti, a baseball guy. Uh, that hire is just, I don't get it. I know that he has a history with DW and all that, but still, like, not,
Yeah.
not a not a good swing for the fences, in my opinion.
Hmm.
They needed to go and pilfer from Tampa Bay. They needed to go pilfer from Washington. Needed to go pilfer from the New York Islanders. Franchises that have taken um, players, impact players in the first rounds, but also mining depth in the second, third, and fourth rounds. They need to get back to developing high end talent, and they haven't done that. I mean, I don't think that the franchise has ever been known for developing high end talent in the first place. Maybe
Oh.
outside of the goaltending and maybe a few defensive prospects here and there, but and then I'm talking like way back when. So like, um, I'm thinking of Ozelinch and
Right.
Ragnarsson, and way back. But yeah, it just, to me, that whole department needed to be gutted and redone,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
not just a quick fix at the top with the Burke movement. I
Yeah.
really think that the team needed an injection of different ideas, and Brad Marchman's not bringing different ideas.
Yeah. No, Cheryl making a great point. We need a staff that can develop the talent, and AJ wants the Tampa scouts because they had outstanding draft history. Yeah, and that maybe that's where Eiserman and doing his thing with the Detroit Red Wings will be eventually soon. So,
I mean,
yep.
look at Yanni Gord, right? Yanni Gord was a Sharks prospect. He was actually, I don't even think he had just an AHL contract, and he becomes a 30 goal scorer in Tampa Bay. I mean, that's all that's all you need to know. You let a 30 goal scorer slip right through your fingers. And that should have been a clear red flag in the development staff. But what do I know? I'm just an armchair quarterback, right?
Right.
So
Right. So.
yeah, I think that these issues go a lot deeper and they're a lot more surface than just the roster on the Sharks. And it's I think the cracks in the bedrock are finally starting to show, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they'll have to find a way to get things moving, starting with this off season, which unfortunately will be starting on April 4th.
Yeah, yeah, and quite frankly, the team looks like it's ready to go play some golf. If any indication of that first period, we've seen more of that first period type of play throughout the season than the second and the third periods. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Absolutely.
the guys I think are just playing the string out. And again, when it seemed like they were out of it back in December, I said, this is becoming a season of process, of understanding where the kids are at in the process, taking solace in some of the good things that we see and some of the development that we see in the season. That's where we've come to, people. That's what you have to do. You have to root for the individual stories in the players now, because honestly, the team doesn't give you much to look forward to. And I hate to end it on a note on such a depressing note, but really, I mean, it's time to start cheering for the individual players at this point.
Yeah, individual players, and you hope for the youngsters to shine, like we've seen Gregor, True, Ferraro for sure. You hope that's a stepping stone in what you hope will be happening in the coming year and beyond, and changing the culture in the organization.
Yeah, yeah, because it's the 19 and 12 era has come to an end. We might see them suit up one or two more seasons, if that. But the Sharks now have to usher in a new era, and they're going to have to reimagine their identity.
Hmm.
And sometimes that can be a long process, and that's something that we're not used to around here in Teal Town. Because the team has been so successful for so long, but of course everybody's got to pay the piper at some point.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think we all knew that this was slowly coming, but now it's here, and now we will go.
Thank
Will
you.
Finn and Starkey be retained? Yes, I believe Finn does have his limited no trade, and Sharkey, of course, come on, he has a no movement clause.
Yeah, I
The
mean,
only movement he has is coming down the rope from the tank. So
yeah, I mean he's got a blank check in Hasselplattner's drawer. He can just put as many zeros as he wants on that thing.
absolutely, thank you,
The
John.
hard,
John,
yeah, the hardest working fish in sports, right?
right?
Uh, Finn and Sharky probably have 8-year contracts just like everybody else. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But you know what? I think one thing that will be good on the forefront from the development standpoint, and it has nothing to do with the drafting and development team, is just the new ice. The new arena at Sharks Ice, or Logitech Ice, or Solar for America Ice, whatever the heck they call it nowadays. Um, it'll be good to see the Barracuda have a permanent home. We did see some depressing pictures coming out of the Barracuda um, last evening, but
Oi.
yeah, but it'll be good. I think getting them a permanent home, that's for sure. So
Yep.
Eric, I mean, we've kind of rambled on now for the last 58 minutes. Is it time to you know?
Go to bed. What? I mean,
Oh, I think that there's a specific act that we
oh,
have to
I
do
mean,
before
yeah.
going to
If
bed.
if we whip around this, what, really quick, because the Sharks aren't even going anywhere.
All right, people, you know what time it is.
For you, Laurel.
Have the goddamn common courtesy to give him a reach around.
Yeah, it's about the only joy we get to extract out of this thing now. Going over on tonight's action, the Rangers beat up on the Canadiens 5-2. Blackhawks beating up on the Lightning 5-2. Interestingly
Wow.
enough, Maple Leafs finally getting pulling themselves out of the rut that they were in and beating up on the Panthers 5-3. Bruins beating the Stars 4-3.
Pavelski got into a fight with Krejci in this one too. Well, I put that gif on Teal Town USA Twitter.
Yep, that guy continues to bleed whatever colors he is wearing, and the Stars got a good one. Canucks losing to the Ottawa Senators 5-2, and what is happening to the Vancouver Canucks? They were leading the division and now are, in jeopardy of having this thing fall off the wheels.
Well, the Vegas Golden Knights, led by Pete DeBoer, on a 7-game win streak. That's one thing. Connor McDavid's back. That's another thing. And of course, it doesn't help that Rudolph Balcers gets his first of the season, and Bobby Ryan makes his return and gets a hat trick tonight. So,
yeah, definitely good to see Bobby Ryan getting back into the fold. Getting some goals. He, of course, went through the Players Assistance Program. We were never really told what exactly was going on, but it's good to see him back on the ice and and contributing. So good on him, and good on the Senators for beating up on the Canucks, because I never like to see the Canucks win. The Wild put up a touchdown versus the Detroit Red Wings, and they beat up on them 7-1. The Blues beat the Islanders in overtime 3-2. The
cut
Predators,
preview.
yeah, could be. Predators get a much needed win and looking like they're kind of correcting the ship now, beating the Flames 4-3 in overtime.
Granlund with the game tangle with like one
One,
tenth of a second left, and then he wins it in overtime. That's crazy.
yep. And then the Jets shutting out Ovechkin and the Capitals 3-0. And that wraps it around the NHL, folks. So, that being said, Eric, let's get your final thoughts on tonight's action and kind of what the Sharks should be doing going forward.
Well, with tonight, you take it and you learn from your lessons from the first period, which I think the Sharks did, and they persevered and get that victory 3-2 with the leadership in the core that was on the ice. Kane, Couture, Burns. That's what you guys are expected to do. You gotta keep it going. And now, the return of Patrick Marleau. What? We'll have that. There's that. The Barracuda play at 1 in Churros jerseys. Mitch Amaya and the San Jose Game Worn Jersey Expo right near the tank all day that day too. So if you are a hockey fan in the Bay Area, Saturday is set up for you. Come on down and enjoy it. All right. I'm at PuckGuy14 on the Twitter and the Instagram. Appreciate all of you joining us. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. And Landy, back to you.
Yeah, that's for sure. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and follow us again on all of the social medias. We'll have it up on the end screen there. But as far as my final thoughts this evening, it was good to see the Sharks get their asses in gear. I don't know if somebody chewed them out in that second period or the first intermission, but they sure looked like they came back with fire lit under their butts. That's for sure. And it'll be interesting to see where the team kind of goes going forward. Again, for me, it's all about the process. It's about getting the young guys really integrated in and seeing what they can show talent-wise and what they can bring to the mix, because the team is looking for some upstarts. That's for sure. So as far as where you can find me on the social medias, use my first name. That's Eric, Erik, Landi, Landi, on all the social media garbage. And we are on the road to 2,000 subscribers on the YouTube. We are 40 away, folks. I believe we are at 1960. So again, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. Of course, if you're a long-time viewer, you know that we go after every single game. Win, lose, rain, shine, afternoon, evening. If the Sharks are playing, we're breaking it down.
Yep.
Well, we really appreciate everybody hopping on tonight. And of course, as always, keep it real, keep it teal, keep it real teal. Thanks, everybody, and have a great night. We will see you after the Patrick Marleau return.
He did it.